What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I want to talk about one of my all-time favorite topics, and that is camera gear. More specifically, what camera gear I'm using as a full-time content creator, where I shoot a ton of long-form content and also short-form vertical content, as well as a ton of photos for not only my socials, but also for my brand Lab Culture's socials as well. I've been in this game a long time, so I've really kind of narrowed it down to what camera gear works for me. So I hope a lot of you guys will find this video kind of helpful if maybe you're considering what camera gear you should try out. And also I'll kind of give you guys some suggestions on some things you can try out for yourself, or even what I would recommend. Now, I think a video like this can be really helpful if maybe you're in the market trying to figure out what camera gear would work for you, or even just seeing how other people use their camera gear in their creative workflows. And I also want to give you guys some suggestions along the way, what I'd recommend, maybe what I wouldn't, and what is important to me. And it's also just fun to see what other people are using, right? Now, currently there's about 4 or 5 different cameras that I use depending on what my situation is or what my specific needs are. But the first one that we have to talk about is my main workhorse, the camera that I use for probably 80% of my work in total, maybe even higher than that, and that is the Sony FX3. So that is the main video camera that I use. I actually use it for a good amount of photos as well. But basically every single YouTube video you see, this is the main camera. Any vertical video you see on my socials, I would say 90% of the time it's also shot on this. Now, I'm not gonna go way too in depth on the FX3 in this specific video. I have a bunch of dedicated videos on the FX3 on my channel if you want to do kind of a deep dive, but this has been my main camera now for like 4 years. It's amazing in low light, it's super small. The 4K video out of it looks amazing, and it just does everything that I need for video without having to think about it too much. Now, it's also the most expensive camera that I'll talk about in this video, so that's something to keep in mind. This definitely isn't the camera for everyone, but for someone like myself who I rely on this camera to pay my bills and the amount of money that I've made off of it using it for the past 4+ years, it without a doubt is one of the best investments of my entire life. But yeah, first up is the FX3. That's the camera body, and then also I'll share what lenses I'm using real quick. Again, I'm gonna keep this somewhat high level, so if you guys want more specific in-depth stuff on any of the gear I talk about in this video, let me know in the comments below. Maybe I'll make a dedicated video. But right now I'm actually filming on the Sony 16mm 1.8 lens. I've talked about this in some previous videos, and I love this thing. It's so small, it's very lightweight, it comes in at a great price. That 1.8 looks amazing, and most importantly, it's small. It's been my main lens for vlogging, and probably will be for the foreseeable future. Recently, I picked up this lens. It's very specific and a fun one to use, and that is the Laowa 10mm 2.8. This one is crazy. If you've seen me do some extremely wide vertical videos lately, it was probably using this lens. I also did recently do an entire YouTube video on this one as well, so feel free to go check that out. And then last but not least, I have the Sony 16-35 f2.8 G Master lens. This was my go-to lens for so long, and I still do love it. Lately though, I've just been loving the 16mm because it's so small and easy to take around, but especially when I'm shooting photos, the extra distance in this comes in handy. And that's actually it for my current lenses. I do want to get something a little bit longer, like a 24-70 or maybe the 28-70. So that's next on my list. But for my personal style, I just prefer wider angle lenses. And to be honest, since I shoot so much vertical videos and also vlogging, wider lenses just make the most sense. And then I will add also, the mic I use on the FX3 is a Sony ECM M1 microphone. My favorite microphone ever. It's expensive, but it's well worth the money. So yeah, that's the main camera. That is kind of the most expensive and intricate one, but it is also the most important for my workflow. Now, before we talk the next camera, I actually gotta show you guys these. One, because they tie in nicely with this next camera, but also they're fire, so you guys gotta see them. I know, I got another pair of shoes. Surprise, surprise. So these are the Jordan 1 High OG Breads. These got re-released in 2025, and they are amazing. This is a shoe I've been wanting in my collection for a very long time. You guys know I love my Chicago Jordan 1s so much, and these are kind of just like a different variation of those without so much white. But these are just super iconic, and so I'm extremely hyped to add these to the collection. This is a pair I was missing, and these are just so clean. And the reason why these tie into a camera is this right here. So this is the Canon G7X Mark III, and this is one of the most hyped up cameras that I can ever remember. And fun fact, this camera released actually over 5 years ago. It released originally in 2019, and it's still almost impossible to get your hands on. And if you see that sticker right there, probably recognize it from this. That's exactly how I got my hands on this camera. All right, so this is the Canon G7X Mark III, and I know what you might be thinking. Johnny, don't you shoot Sony? Here's the thing. I actually started out shooting Canon on this channel if you go way back or if you've been around that long. But in this day and age, I use cameras from all sorts of different brands and for different reasons, which you guys will see throughout this video. But yes, I suppose I do predominantly shoot on Sony, but that doesn't mean as creatives you shouldn't always be testing out new gear to see what you enjoy shooting with and what fits your workflow and needs. And this one is actually pretty special. So a quick rundown of the specs of this camera in case you aren't familiar with it. It has a 20.1 megapixel sensor and it also shoots 4K video. So what that means is this shoots great looking photos and video out of a very, very small pocket sized camera. Now I personally would use this style of a camera when I want to go out somewhere and take some photos that are higher quality than maybe my phone, but it's still small, it's not a pain to take with me, and I can literally fit it in my pocket. But people do shoot video with this, and you definitely can, especially with this flip up screen. It's actually perfect for vlogging as well, which obviously if you are vlogging, a flip out screen is absolutely necessary. But here is what makes this camera special. The pop-out flash. Now I think a lot of people that use this camera use the flash pretty much on every single photo, even in good lighting. It just helps you get a more specific look. And people also use this camera similar to some Fujis, where you can have baked in looks in the JPEGs, so you don't even have to edit the photos if you don't want to. Or the way that I use this is I shoot JPEG and RAW, so I can have photos instantly ready to go whenever I shoot, or I can take those RAW files back later and edit them on my computer however I want. Now the reason why this ties in with those shoes is both are actually from StockX, and I feel like when people hear about StockX, they obviously are familiar with sneakers. I've gotten a lot of pairs of my shoes from StockX over the years. I've actually sold quite a few pairs through StockX as well. So they asked if I wanted to check out this camera, which was a no-brainer because I've been wanting to get my hands on this. And this is sick because I feel like a lot of people, when they hear about StockX, they know it's for shoes, but they actually offer a lot more stuff on top of just shoes, like tech, especially hard to get tech. That's actually where I got my Stussy Beats from, if you guys remember me talking about those. Earlier this year, I got the PS5 20th anniversary, and now we got the Canon G7X Mark III and a pair of fire kicks. So a little bit later on tonight, we're actually gonna take out this camera and take a few photos on it. Maybe we'll even wear the new shoes as well. Because we have a drop coming up for Lab Culture in the coming weeks, I need to take a few photos. I figure what better chance to test this camera out. So stick around for that in a bit, and we'll test this thing out a little bit more and see what it can actually do. Okay, so we're about to head out right now. I'm gonna tell you guys about our next camera at the next stop, but I figured I'm gonna lace these up real quick so I can wear them today. We're gonna do that, and then we're hitting the road, and I think we might actually need a coffee too. Now, I don't know where you guys are, which by the way, let me know in the comments below where you guys are watching this video from. I think it's always cool to see that. But here in downtown Chicago, it is full on fall. It's fall weather right now. Don't mind the helicopter above me. That's just true Chicago vibes. But today it's like 67 degrees. Absolutely beautiful outside. Perfect fall weather, which means I think I need a fall drink. Felt like I deserved a little treat today. Now they actually got my order wrong, but I'm actually just gonna let it slide because what I got was actually a healthy version of this, which is basically a sweet cream vanilla cold brew, 1 pump of sugar-free vanilla, and then 2 pumps of pumpkin. I did not get pumpkin cold foam on it, but they put pumpkin cold foam on it. So we're gonna let that slide today. If I didn't order it, do the macros count? That is so good. All right, let me move you guys to this side. Now the next camera that is in my workflow is this one right here. You guys are probably familiar with it. It is the Osmo Pocket 3 from DJI. And this camera is honestly so awesome. A lot of people talk about it often and for good reason. Now again, I have more dedicated videos talking about this camera in depth if you guys want a full in-depth review and more of my specific thoughts, but I'll keep it general here. This camera is extremely small, it's pocket sized, and it still gets amazing 4K looking video. And it comes in under $1,000. And the cool thing about this one is it has a built-in gimbal, so your shots look extremely smooth. This, I think, is a great alternative if you don't want to shoot a bunch of video on your phone, or maybe you want a dedicated camera to shoot your video on. But I highly recommend this camera. I think it's great, especially for traveling, or if maybe you are going somewhere where you don't want to take a large DSLR camera or mirrorless camera like I'm shooting on. This thing is is tiny. You can take it pretty much anywhere, specifically like events or maybe places that don't even allow larger cameras. Not even do you want to be seen holding this huge, massive camera, but you can actually get this in places. So personally, I don't shoot everything on this camera. I know some people do, but for me, this is just another tool in my camera bag that I use in specific situations. So yeah, DJI Osmo Pocket 3, great option for creators out there. And honestly, it's something that I think pretty much anyone could have in their camera bag. And by the way, this is slapping. All right, so quick pit stop here at the locker. If you guys didn't know, this is where I currently am running my brand Lab Culture out of. And right behind me, you'll see the emptiest these shelves will be for probably honestly, the rest of the year. I'm waiting on a couple very large shipments right now for this upcoming drop and then the Black Friday drop. This place is going to be packed, and it might even feel like we're outgrowing this space once everything lands. There's so much heat on the way, I can't wait for you guys to see. Now, honestly, there's not too much to do here right now, just waiting for these boxes to come in over the next few days, but I had to stop in because I need to send something out to a friend of mine. Here's the thing, we've sold out of every single drop we've had so far, which is crazy, but I always keep a couple extras just in case. You never know who might hit you up or who's interested in getting a little bit of gear. So gotta hook them up with some stickers, of course, just a t-shirt, and also I'm gonna throw a pair of socks in this order. But as I kind of prep this, the next camera I wanna talk to you guys about is something that everybody has with them on a daily basis, which I'm sure you kind of know where this is going. Look at that, look at that packaging, look at that. But that's right, you guessed it, it is my iPhone. More specifically, we have the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Now, in case you guys haven't watched it yet, I've dropped a lot of content on the iPhone 17 specifically over the past few weeks. So if you wanna see like a full day in the life or my overall thoughts on it, check that out. But this thing is sick. So yes, the iPhone 17 Pro Max is a critical part of my creative workflow. I use this thing on a daily basis to not only obviously post my content, to help run my business Lab Culture, but also I shoot a ton of content with this, both photo and video. Stuff that is more simple just for Instagram stories, but even stuff that I use in actual content. Even last week was the launch of the new iPhone, and I filmed a couple videos specifically on the camera itself because I really wanted to test it out and push it to its limits, and it holds up extremely well. The built-in microphones are great. The video looks amazing for both vertical and horizontal, even if you wanted to vlog on it, and the photos are very good as well. Also, don't mind the noise. We're in downtown Chicago. There's like trains. I think someone's mowing the grass right now. Shouldn't they know I'm filming? And I want to make it known here that even if you don't have the latest and greatest iPhone or Android, whatever it is, if you have a smartphone, I would say within the last 3 to 5 years, your smartphone is plenty good enough to shoot content, shoot video, and put your content out into the world. These things are getting so good now. A lot of people can use this as their only camera. Now, don't get me wrong. I love camera gear as much as anyone. I obviously have a bunch of cameras and I use a bunch of cameras, but with how good smartphones are these days, especially ones that have come out over the last couple of years, there is no excuse anymore to not film stuff, to not shoot photos and put it out there. So sometimes I make pieces of content solely using my iPhone, but a lot of times I'll use it for insert clips, maybe in a longer vlog or in a short form video. Again, in scenarios like the Osmo Pocket 3, where I don't want to have to take a huge camera with me. This is always going to be with me no matter what, so you might as well use it. All right, so we're going to tape this up and then we are out of here. But I'm telling you guys, these shelves over the next couple of weeks are going to be absolutely filled. And by the time this video comes out, the announcement for the next drop should be within the next week or so. So make sure you stay tuned to my socials and also Lab Culture's page too, all right? It's gonna be big and you're gonna have to be quick. I don't care what anybody says. I think Chicago might be the most beautiful city in the country, especially when it's not 10 degrees. Especially that. All right, so stop back home real quick before we head out to take some photos with that Canon G7X. Going to shoot a couple things for the next Lab Culture drop for a little themed shoot. Real candid and real chill, but I think it'll be a perfect way to show this off. Just waiting for the sun to actually go down. So I'm about to pack up my camera bag and then head out here shortly. But before we do that, we have one more camera to talk about that's part of my collection and my workflow. And it's this camera right here, the Fuji X100 VI. Now I will will say I also use the wide angle adapter on here, which converts this lens from a 35mm to more of a 28mm. And of course the short stash everyday filter. Shout out to the GOAT. But I've had this camera since the day it came out now, which I think is what, a year and a half, almost 2 years. Is that right? Yeah, but I guess about a year and a half. And then I had the X100V before that. But this is another one of those cameras similar to that Canon that is extremely hard to get your hands on because there's such a high demand for it. One, because of the price point. Two, how easy it is to use, and then three, just the image that you get out of it. So this camera kind of falls into a similar category to me as this Canon, which I've talked about before, which I consider to be a glorified point and shoot camera. And basically what I mean by that is you can set this camera up in full auto, you can tweak it as much as you want, or you can have it be as automatic as you want, and it still gets some amazing photos out of it. Now, one of the most popular things about Fuji cameras is they have built-in recipes, which is basically just baked in presets or edits for your photos into your camera. So you can adjust a million different things and really tweak what your photo is going to look like. And the reason why I call it that glorified point and shoot camera is because this type of a camera, and now also this Canon, is I can take this out for a weekend or an evening shoot, whatever, shoot some JPEGs with the recipes baked in, transfer those photos directly to my phone. I don't have to edit them whatsoever, and they look like professional edited photos that I can upload to socials just right away and don't have to think about it at all. Of course, when you do that, sometimes they won't be absolutely perfect, but that's kind of the beauty of shooting photos like that. It's very run and gun, but you get some polished looking photos without too much work on the back end. So that's why a camera like this is so attractive. And that's how I've been using this camera over the last year and a half. And I think a lot of those features actually fall in line with this Canon as well. Again, it's a small camera. You get a great image out of it. You can use the baked in looks if you want, or edit the raw photos and tweak them a bunch if you want. And they also both have a built-in flash. So this camera for me is perfect for maybe a weekend trip, or you're going somewhere with friends, or I'm just meeting a homie for coffee. I want to take a camera with me to get photos, again, maybe higher quality than what my iPhone can shoot, even though that's getting closer and closer day by day. But having an f2 actual lens just hits different. So that's generally how I use this camera. And I think a lot of others do as well. All right, so we just made it downtown and we are at our first location, which is going to be this 7-Eleven that's on this corner behind us. That's going to be kind of the vibe of this shoot. But like I mentioned, we're going to be shooting some photos with the new Canon, or at least new to me, Canon G7X Mark III, and shooting some pieces for the upcoming Lab Culture drop. 2 different 7-Elevens we're going to hit just to kind of switch up the vibe a little bit. 2 different outfit changes, including shoes. Right now I got the breads on, the camo hat, and then the black t-shirt. Also, little haven't shown these yet, pair of shorts as well. So you can go inside, shoot the first round of this, and I'll try to grab a couple clips for you guys, but the focus here is gonna be on the photos, and then I'll obviously show you them after. All right, location 1, got a big gulp. Got some photos. I think they turned out pretty cool, so we'll see how they look once we get out of here. But then about to head out to the second 7-Eleven, change the outfit, get some more photos, and then I'll check with you guys after. All right, so I don't know if you guys could hear me in there or not. Honestly, it's kind of hard to show BTS of us shooting in a place you're not really supposed to shoot. So yeah, just really grabbing a couple of shots to use for this upcoming campaign, and then also, yeah, trying to show off this new camera. But yeah, headed to the other 7-Eleven right now, gonna put on the long sleeve shirt, other hat, and maybe actually get a couple gas station snacks. Thoughts? All right, so a couple gas station essentials and a few more photos on the Canon. All right, so we're about to throw on the long sleeve instead of the t-shirt. I know I haven't officially showed you guys the entire collection yet, but that will be in the next video. We'll do an entire walkthrough in the next one. This is just a little tease and preview. All right, also gonna swap out of the breads and into the Chicago ones. Little outfit change. Same but different, you know what I mean? And then get some of these photos. And a lot of people are wondering what I'm doing, which is a fair question. I'm changing the parking lot. We're about to shoot some photos in a gas station. Normal things. All right, so gas station shots are done. We'll take these back to the lab and see what else I need to shoot after this, but we got at least a few good ones out. But we did pick up a few snacks. All right, so honestly, we didn't get way too much, but had to go with a little Sprite Zero, of course. That's very on brand for me. We also got this giant Mountain Dew big gulp. They also have a sugar-free slushie, which I never knew was a thing. Sugar-free Fanta, peanut butter M&M ice cream sandwich. That looks pretty fire. And then this, I love Doritos. I don't know the last time I had Doritos. They now have a blazing buffalo ranch. That's pretty good. They have a little kick to them. That is good though, that's good. All right, back to the office, gonna take a look at some of these photos and share some of my thoughts. All right, so just made it back to the lab, got done importing all the photos from the Canon G7X Mark III into Lightroom, and I gotta say, I'm actually very, very impressed with how they turned out. Now, I need to dial in kind of the baked in JPEGs a little bit more, but editing the raw photos, and they work extremely well. I definitely understand why this camera has so much hype around it and why people want to get their hands on it and why it's impossible to get it. And 100% the flash is what makes it, and the fact that it's just so small and lightweight. So I will indeed be using some of these photos for the upcoming lab culture campaign. Like I mentioned, it should be in the next video. I'll give you guys a walkthrough of that next drop, but this is a really cool camera. Again, shout out to StockX for sending it out to me to test out and use. This will be probably living in my camera bag for the foreseeable future. And again, StockX obviously is great for sneakers, but they have a lot of stuff too, like tech. So if there's something you have in mind that maybe got sold out or was super limited, it's worth checking out StockX to see if they might have it. Now, last thing I will say here on the topic of cameras, there is so many good cameras out there these days, right? Everything from your smartphone all the way up to crazy expensive cinema cameras. Everything is getting to be pretty good, which is great. The more competitive the market gets, the more the consumer wins, because things in theory should be better at more affordable prices or just more options. So these are the cameras that currently fit my workflow and my needs, but you know, that is always ever evolving, just like I'm sure yours is as well. But reminder, these are the cameras that work for me and my current needs, and your needs are probably going to be a little bit different. Everyone's workflows are different, everyone's budgets are different, everyone's needs out of their camera gear is going to be different. So figure out what your budget is, figure out what you want to be shooting, and then I would do some research based on that price range on YouTube, TikTok, etc. I think that's going to be the best way to find what works for you, because you know, I get questions like, hey, what's the best camera for shooting cars? Or what's the best lens for vlogging? And there is no best camera for this. There's no best lens for that. They all have pros and cons. They all have drastically different budgets, and it kind of just comes down to preference and what your needs are. So find your budget, research off that, and then kind of go from there. That's my biggest piece of advice. Guys, that is gonna be it for me in today's video. Honestly, I'm gonna be editing photos here for probably the next 4 or 5 hours, to be honest with you. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. If you guys made it this far into the video, comment the word or words 7-Eleven. All right, that's how I know if you made it to the end of this video, because you know we went to 7-Eleven. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video and maybe got some value kind of hearing me yap about my camera gear and what can help you out. If you did enjoy today's video, make sure you drop it a thumbs up. If you're new around here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I think this is either week 9 or 10 of YouTube videos in a row, so we're gonna keep this thing consistent to close out the year. So with all that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video very, very soon. Peace.